Rebekah Jones, the Florida Department of Health data scientist who was behind the much appreciated Florida's COVID 19 dashboard, was fired from her job as Geographic Information Systems Manager in May. This is Florida's COVID 19 data and surveillance dashboard from the Department of Health. Very clear and a crisp one. It is so good that you can actually keep track of what is going on in the state and where. No wonder it got Mr. Ron DeSantis up in knots. Yesterday, Rebekah Jones was raided and officials took all her hardware and tech based on a complaint filed by Florida Department of Health.
You remember Rebekah Jones, data scientist, fired by the Florida Department of Health in May after questioning state officials' commitment to accessibility and transparency with COVID-19 data? Well, today her home was raided as part of a cybercrime investigation. Video of the raid here, you can see officers coming in, guns drawn.
Come outside. Outside.
Who else is in the house, ma'am?
My 2 children and my husband.
Where's your husband at?
Calm down. Calm down.
You want the children down?
Call them all down.
Mr. Jones, come down the stairs. Now!
Police, come down now.
Search warrant.
Bring your
Come down the
children.
stairs.
My children!
Glenn, hang on. Let me clear behind
He
you.
just pointed a gun at my children!
Of Health. According to an earlier report from Florida Today, Rebekah Jones was fired allegedly from her position because she was asked to censor some data and she refused to manually change data to drum up support for the plan to reopen. So who is on the other side? It's the GOP administration led by Governor Ron DeSantis. The federal government, led by Donald Trump, in the president's own words, had asked to reduce testing so that they can reduce the case count.
Here's the bad part. When you do testing to that extent, you're going to find more people, you're going to find more cases. So I said to my people, slow the testing down, please.
And the president has been repeatedly going around saying that we have more cases because we test more. So the odds of a GOP Florida administration trying to play around with data look suddenly within the reach of a GOP administration. So Governor Ron DeSantis in May, after the firing of Rebekah Jones, tried to paint her as a disruptive employee and a criminal. So after being fired, Rebekah Jones did not stop. She went ahead and built a COVID monitor on her own. She started working with Google and a non-profit called FinMango. And she built a data set for every school district in the United States, helping people to keep track of the number of cases in each district. So is it weird that Mr. DeSantis and his administration will try to keep up some scores? But then I realized a pattern here. Remember the impeachment hearings, how the right-wing personalities handled all those witnesses? The witnesses were slammed, harassed, and taken to task for appearing in the hearings. They were all under oath, but that did not stop the harassment. There is a systematic pattern of going against anyone who criticizes the government, and if they are government officials, the threat level goes up by a notch. Former Trump campaign manager Steve Bannon asked Fauci and FBI Director Christopher Wray to be executed. Trump campaign lawyer Joe DiGenova went on TV and asked fired cybersecurity chief Chris Krebs to be taken out at dawn and be shot. These are officials who either spoke against the administration or did not agree to toe the line that was preferred by the GOP administration. Christopher Krebs, the cybersecurity chief, was fired after he said the election was the most secured one in US history. And Rebekah Jones says she was fired as she refused to manipulate data. Here she is talking to CNN.
So the question is, why? Rebekah Jones joins us now for an exclusive interview. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Chris.
Why do you think this happened?
After speaking to my attorneys and looking over the evidence they said they have, I actually think that they're not after me. They didn't take the router in my house. They didn't take a number of laptops in the house that belonged to my son or my husband that could have easily done whatever it is that they think happened. They took my phone and they took the computer that I use to run my companies. And on my phone is every communication I've ever had with someone who works at the state, who has come to me in confidence and told me things that could get them fired or in trouble like this. And I just want to say to all those people right now, if he doesn't know already, DeSantis will know soon enough that you've been talking to me. So be careful.
They say, you've seen this, but for the audience, they say that they believe that an IP address belonging to you was used to access an emergency system within the state that you weren't supposed to have access to anymore once you weren't working there, where you put out a message telling people to speak up, speak out about COVID, speak out about the deaths. Did you send that text on that system?
No. I haven't had access to any systems at DOH for over 6 months. I'm not a hacker. As the governor pointed out many months ago, I'm not that tech savvy and have no interest in reaching out to DOH. I've been publicly telling people to come forward for months. That is the way that you do it. And I, better than anybody, know that people at DOH aren't going to. If they didn't come out before, when I warned everybody that DeSantis would, and eventually he did, get people killed, they're not going to come out now.
What do you make of their saying that they have the IP address and that it's yours?
Well, that IP address was apparently provided by the Department of Health, IG office, Inspector General, and didn't actually come from an investigation. It came straight from DOH.
Now, I don't know how big a deal it is to send that text. I'd have to look closer at the statute and see what they saw in terms of why they're motivated this way. But you do know that saying you didn't send it, if they prove that you did, you're going to have much bigger problems than otherwise.
Yeah, I'm not too worried about that.
You stand by the answer. You did not send that text. You did not send any message of any kind to any group on any system that you weren't supposed to.
The only direct communication I've ever sent to DOH was through a public op-ed in the Miami Herald asking people to speak out, and that was many months ago.
And you know why I'm asking you? It's not about an accusation, is I want to give you fair hearing to answer what they're going to put out and have put out about why they came to your house that way. And I heard you freaking out about your kids being in there and what they do. I understand why you'd be worried about it. But they're saying it's a cyber crime. You're saying there's nothing to their allegation.
No. And this is just a very thinly veiled attempt of the governor to intimidate scientists and get back at me while trying to get to my sources, as he's been firing DOH staff left and right, including their director of communications, who was fired about that time.
Do you know the communication that they're talking about? Did you hear about it? Do you have any sense of who might have sent it?
I didn't even see it until today. And I'd also like to note that a lot of the language that was used in it is not the way I talk. And the number of deaths that the person used wasn't even right. They were off. They were actually under by about 430 deaths. I would never round down 430 deaths. Those are 430 people who have died in the state. I take that number and every number I publish very seriously.
Thanks for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe.